Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a place where we dive into different topics we encounter whilst being a mother and being on a spiritual path. And today we're going to be diving into a very potent topic. This one is applicable for you mothers out there who are obviously on the spiritual path, but you are married and you're outgrowing the marriage. The confines of the marriage perhaps, or whatever it is, just isn't serving you. So you might have that anxious feeling now starting to bubble up to the surface that indicates that there is nothing here that is fertile for your growth anymore. You may be experiencing it outside of the relationship, but when you are with this individual, you've simply outgrown it. You're not in the same space that you were before. You're not that young person who married, or perhaps you are now in the confines or the system of marriage, and it really doesn't serve you and where you're at. So really taking this moment to honor the fact that you are on your spiritual path, on your soul awakening journey. If you can see that something isn't working for you and you've admitted it to yourself, you've brought it into your consciousness, and now comes the next big question. What is it that I need to do now? What should I do? And obviously we have choice. So this video is basically giving signposts, things that helped me along the way and continue to. I keep checking in with that because relationships are something that keep evolving and you keep working. And I can tell you now that the old structure of doing things in marriage, for those who are on the spiritual path, can be very difficult. And so you're not alone in that. Right, so let's get into some of the signposts that I mentioned. So the first one is to take a breath. Feel yourself. Breathe with me now. And drop into that which you know is right and true for you. And also feel into discussing this with your partner, with your husband. And really honor what will bubble up. So don't create a script to run off, because that's using your brain, right? This is part of your path. If you are married, then use every aspect of your life to uncover more about yourself. So this is one of those moments to be as conscious as possible and as open as you can allow. Because let's face it, when you're in a relationship, you will be triggered. You will be feeling emotional at times. And that's good, that's fine. Because underneath it all is truth. So be prepared to be courageous. The more courageous we are, the more open we are. And the more we can just feel the truth and see it for what it is. So curiosity, walk into this first conversation where you want to bring up this topic with your husband. Be curious to see what's going to happen. Don't go in there with an end result. Go in there with just the truth. Hey, this isn't working for me. It's not working. I feel restricted. I feel like I'm not worthy. I feel like, or whatever it is that you're experiencing in this, whatever's not working, put voice to that and get it out and let it be witnessed by your husband. Now, there's a little caveat here that if your husband is violent, obviously this doesn't fit into that. So you've voiced your opinions of what's not working and why you think it's not working. And so that typically is something that you put out there, right? So if you think about that, sometimes there are some projections in there. There are some things that we might put on the other partner, especially if, you know, it's relationships, so we can get emotional, everything, there's attachment still, it can get messy. So there is a time where we can pause and breathe, so that breath is amazing to keep us nice and calm and present, because we want to know the truth, right? We want to uncover more. So, and then we can wait and see. So in my case, there was nothing in reply because there was a bit of a stun. There was a shock. And I had to come back in another couple of days to then get a reply. So what I did, and what I recommend, even if there is a reply, if you take this as part of your path and you start learning from it, is that you can take this opportunity to reflect and put to yourself of, okay, well, in the relationship, would I have been happy with the way I treated him? So if you flip yourself around and go, all right, so what was I doing to meet, you know, what I truly wanted? Was I meeting him where he was at? Was I manipulating him or projecting, but I do everything and you do nothing? Could I have spoken my truth in that, can you do this please, because I need some help here? Because I can tell you now, and I know a lot of friends that do the same, they just do, and then it's like the martyr syndrome of going, but I did all this and you haven't done nothing, you know. And so there's this aspect of we can then project, but we can also create scenes to then project, right? So it's like using this time to reflect on ourselves and seeing where we perhaps haven't been as clean as we could be, and if perhaps we would enjoy being in each other's in our own company in the way that we have been treating our husbands. So it's just looking, and it could be the fact that, hey, I've done everything I can possibly do to come up and meet him wherever he's at, and it's still not working. I'm not happy, and that's that. He's refusing to accept, you know, my spiritual growth and my practices, and he's refusing to look at himself and to grow. Well, if that's the case, if he's refusing to look at himself and take responsibility on for his own soul growth, well, then I can understand why you've at least looked at it and there isn't much fertility for which both of you can grow. If you're on your spiritual path, if you're on your soul path of truth, of knowing, you know, of feeling, of having that wisdom, then it's not the best area. It's not the best situation for you both. And I'd understand that that's where you would continue with it. It's not working for either one. It is, however, very promising if after those couple of days he comes back and says, actually, I've always wanted a spiritual path. I'm not sure where to go, but I'm going to spend this time to look for that, right? If he takes his own power back, automatically that lifts his vibration. If he says, well, I get it. You're on the soul path. You want more. You're on the path of awakening. You're wanting to be more conscious. You don't want to be just continually triggered. You don't want to stay in this situation if you can't go out and explore your creativity and your natural way, because you're pigeonholed into the way you were, for my case, when I was 26 years of age, right? And I'm almost 39. I'm extremely different to how I was when I was 26. And so I could only imagine what you mothers are like as well, that you are not the same person anymore, and you're evolving, and what you thought was the right thing to do at the time, and was probably the right thing to do at the time, perhaps doesn't feel right now. So this is a huge, huge moment to acknowledge. And why this is a huge, huge moment to acknowledge is that we're finding ourselves in a place where we can recreate pretty much anything. We are in this time where there is a lot of grief, right? And a lot of instability, a lot of people losing their jobs. So it's pretty horrific with COVID-19. But on the other hand, it is a time where we can recreate our reality. It's a time that we can co-create with our soul's desires. So what is it then that you need? What is it that you yearn for with the relationship? This is a question that I posed to myself, where it was, yes, there are whole truths here, but what is it that I desire right now from this man who I have spent, 12, 13 years of my life with? And it was this, companionship. That was huge. To realize what it was for me was huge, because my spiritual path is that which I'm devoted to. It is my lover. It is everything to me. And so to have a companion on that path is such an honor. But for him to take responsibility for his soul path and not to come in on mine and assume that it's going to be the same, it may not be. And so that's just one example. To recreate our relationships in a way that best serves both. He wanted his own space as well. I didn't realize that part of it was that I was doing the martyr thing. Part of it was that I was taking control because he was weakened. And he didn't want that. He wanted to go to his own space to sort himself out. But we never gave each other space to breathe. And so now for ourselves, we're separating. We're no longer wearing our rings. We're no longer married. We're starting again. But this time in the way that we want to do it. Not blindly going about what is normal for married couples to be doing. It is normal to both be going to the same events. It is normal to both be going to each other's families' birthdays. Whereas we both looked at each other and said, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Why are we doing this then? It's always a strain. I don't know why we're doing this. Let's go our own ways. Let's just see what happens. Let's do it the way that we want to do it. And just see. And we can co-parent. Who cares what this looks like from the outside? If it works well on the inside, then that's what matters. And so the next kind of thing to do, or the signpost, is to let it go. Just surrender. Well, now that you've gone into the truth, you've gone into the hard bit of courageously exposing the truth that you know. You've sat in it yourself and received some truth bombs back, which may hurt, ouch, and it may be truth and it may not be. It's to sift through the projections, to feel into it, and then to let it go. And like that saying says, let go and let God. Whatever denomination you're from, it can relate. So let it go to the universe if you don't believe in God, or use that term. But it's fascinating when you don't interfere, to see what arises, and to like marinate in your own juices. And during this time, it is so important to self-care. So make sure you create time for yourself. Check out my previous video on self-care, because I do talk about that from the point of view of being a mother as well and being in difficult situations. So check that out. But also it's from this place of where it's maintenance. You do meditations, be with yourself, be truly in yourself during this time, and let go of all other connections, and let go of all other attachments during this time, and just see the magic unfold without having to try to control it. It's amazing to just witness, to be in it still, because obviously you can't just, pull yourself away from the emotions involved. And even if you really want it to work, you still have that attachment, but just watch. Just watch and be present and allow this to unravel the way it's meant to, in the highest for both people. And this unraveling aspect, this giving it space to move and breathe, is what being in relationships about, is the magic of being on the path and being in a relationship and having children. Pretty loud. But it's like allowing, there's no perfection, it's just allowing it to breathe and move and keep feeling with what feels right in that moment. Is he going to be my constant lover? I don't know that. I have no idea. Maybe, maybe not. Do I want him as a companion when he accepts responsibility for himself and his own path and all that? Damn right I do. He's a beautiful man and I love him dearly. So it's, what is it that works for you? And also allowing that space for it to unravel. Unravel, 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 unravel. The truth will continue to show itself the more space you give it to breathe. So if you choose to physically separate, which is something that we've done, we even sleep in separate beds, separate rooms. It helps you to feel yourself, but you may choose to do it in another way, whatever way best suits. It's giving it room to move, giving it space to breathe. So another aspect here is to touch base with your husband during this, whatever it is, this time of reflection, this time of essentially it's retreating into yourself, where most of my focus has been on the children, keeping a constant emotional support there, but also on myself outside of that. And so, to look at ways in which you can do something similar, however it looks for you. So just feel into that. But it's also now in this time of checking back in, seeing if there is a rekindling, seeing if there is more truth to be unraveled here with you, moving through this consciously, breathing through it, sitting in the difficult moments, coming up and being courageous and open, and seeing if there's any manipulations or anything that you're after from this person. That's something to look at within yourself and use as a way of understanding yourself and as a way of seeing if there's any fears that are underneath there, because that can come out in very distorted ways. So really looking at that as well. Another way or another step is obviously to be really honest with each other as you move through this, but leave no stone unturned. Really use this as a way to go, okay, is there anything else here for me? Is he still projecting on me? Am I still projecting on him? If that's the case, give yourselves a bit more time. If you're both on a spiritual path, there will be a moment where, or an understanding, maybe perhaps we're not meant to be together if we keep going at each other's wounds. That could be another, that could lend more weight towards or one answer, right? No, it's not going to work. Or perhaps you can work through it and both use this as a way to grow. If you're able to take on responsibility, your own responsibility in this. So being on this spiritual path to knowing thyself, to knowing all of these mysteries that exist within you, to become that more empowered whole being and truly live from this place. It means that, particularly when you're married, that you're facing the thousands of years worth of conditioning with what the weight of being a wife and the role that that holds. And also likewise with your husband. And if you're both courageous enough to say, out with that, let's make it work for us. And if you try different things, it may just save your marriage. It may not, but that's part of being on the path. It's part of understanding that you don't have control over anything, especially someone else in the relationship. It's about giving it space. It's about honoring yourself and what you truly want and spending time with yourself in order to know what it is you want in someone else or from someone else. It's also honoring the fact that we're not going to just be 100% in the right all the time. There are aspects of us that is triggering the other person. The other person will bring out the worst in us as well as the best in us. And for us to really reflect on that and take back the responsibility for our half. So I really hope that this has helped in some way. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to check out that previous video I made on self-care, especially with mothers. Until the next video, see ya.